Victory Studios in downtown Little Rock. This is Capitol View.
Welcome to Capitol View. I'm your host, Roby Brock. Thank you so much for joining us. The 95th Arkansas General Assembly wrapped up, I think it's its 8th week at the state capitol, but don't worry, there's still at least 5 weeks to go. Until then, we'll keep covering the activity. Joining me now to chime in on some issues affecting his office is Arkansas Attorney General Tim Griffin. Always good to see you.
Thanks. Who's counting? I mean, who's
I'm
counting the weeks?
Counting and I'm counting down,
come on.
so we want to get this wrapped up and over with. If Easter was a little earlier this year, they would be done sooner, I predict. So
Okay.
it's
All
Easter is the mark, and it's a late Easter this year, but you knew that.
Well, they didn't take off for Mardi Gras, so there's,
Well, there is that. So, all right, I want to begin with one of the big issues this session is I believe it's on the governor's desk right now, nitrogen gas as a form of state execution to carry out the death penalty in Arkansas. We've been stalled for several years because of a lack of the drug cocktail that they've been needed. Are you okay with nitrogen gas? Have you looked into this as the possible execution method and comfortable with that?
Yes, I've been very involved in terms of my staff reviewing it, making sure it's something that we believe legally, constitutionally, we can defend. Now, my role with regard to executions is very limited. It's just basically saying that we have individuals who have exhausted their legal remedies, and we have people that can be scheduled for that.
Yeah, you kind of initiate the process for the governor to set that in motion.
So that part of it, there's very limited engagement. But I was interested in this from the very beginning. My view is if you don't like the death penalty, you need to change the law. But if the law's on the books, I take an oath to uphold the Constitution and our laws. If the law is on the books, we should respect that. And my view was find a way to make the law work. So I was approached by, early in my first year, by a lady from South Arkansas, one of Representative Lane Jean's constituents from back where I grew up.
In Old Magnolia.
Near Magnolia. Yeah, I think she's either lives in Magnolia or outside Magnolia. But anyway, her mother was murdered while gardening, shot in the head. And her killer, the killer of this lady's mother, is still on death row. And we have all these states around us that are applying the death penalty, using the death penalty. They're finding ways to do it. And just from a common sense perspective, I spend a ton of time talking about one pill can kill and how deadly fentanyl is. So as a common sense matter, I just sort of said to some people one day, we're running around talking about how if you touch this stuff, if one pill, you're dead, this stuff is so deadly. Yet we as a state can't figure out how to carry out the death penalty.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was unacceptable. And so, yes, I'm not a legislator, obviously, but I believe if we have a law on the books, the proper thing to do, if you don't like it, get it repealed. But if it's on the books, we need to
So now this is in place, the processes can be initiated. Do you know where anybody might be in terms of their appeals, and are we close to that process being initiated?
All I know, again, this is the governor and corrections. They handle all that. So I'm not going to encroach on any of that. That's theirs. I'm not even privy to a lot of the information that goes into the mechanics of this. What I will say is there are individuals who are eligible to be put to death.
Okay. So we could see something later this calendar year.
That's out of my hands, but there are individuals.
You would initiate the process, though.
Well, but that would mean that what I can say is there's someone eligible.
Okay.
That's what I can say.
Okay. All right.
And beyond that, it's not my role.
All right. Let's shift gears. Talk about another piece of legislation that has worked its way through the General Assembly as well. It deals with sports raffles. Mm-hmm. This one is created a lot of controversy a few weeks ago between the casinos and the sponsor, Representative R.J. Hawk. They seem to have worked out their differences now. You probably got consulted a lot on the constitutionality of all of this. Your office did at least. You feel comfortable with where that bill is? What do you think the potential outcome is?
There's no constitutional issue here. A lot of the nonsense, a lot of the debate was based on nonsense and bad information by people who had a stake one way or the other. My office was involved with this from the very beginning to make sure it was done right. And it's really simple. It's really simple. So there's no constitutional issue. The Constitution in Amendment 84 governs raffles and bingo. It says basically nonprofits can conduct raffles. You can't just change the Constitution at the session, right? So that's set.
Well, I don't know. I think they'd try if they could.
Well, well,
continue, please.
There are some legal arguments to be made there, but generally speaking, that's not what is at issue here. What at issue here was a statute that says, okay, Amendment 84 governs this, and the statute basically said it can't be digital. So what this statutory, not constitutional, what the statutory change says is we're going to expand it to digital, but then we're going to restrict that digital very, very narrowly to educational nonprofits, for athletics, etc. And so that shouldn't be controversial in terms of legality. It's pretty clear.
Yep.
They're just changing the statute, which they can do. And the issue that was raised of, well, it's going to generate revenue, and people affiliated with those that generate the revenue can't be paid with that. That is true. It says that. But the problem is, just because you wear a Razorback on your shirt or live in Fayetteville doesn't make you affiliated with the foundation. So the foundation, theoretically, hypothetically, will conduct a raffle for the University of Arkansas.
Okay.
And this applies to the UCA and others.
They can all set it up that way. Yeah.
But the foundation conducts the raffle. No one affiliated with the foundation, people that work there, I know people that work there, you know people that work there, they can't be compensated their salaries with that money. That is separate and distinct from athletes who are playing for the university.
And that was the clarification that the law put in place, basically.
Well, that would, yeah, I mean, that's been in there from the beginning.
Okay.
That's been in there from the beginning. That's why a lot of the debate was really not a debate. It was a lot of bad information circulating. And there are people that still say, no, it's affiliated if you're an athlete. No, it's not. Again, just because you wear a Razorback on your shirt doesn't mean you're part of the same enterprise legally. Yeah. The foundation is the 501c4 that is separate from the university. And so people affiliated with that can't be paid. But the university is separate from that by definition. That's why they have a foundation. So it's illegally, it's not an issue. I think it's going to be, I didn't create the playing field that we have. And we could have a debate about what the playing field, and we could ask Nick Saban to weigh in on that. He's got a lot of good points on that. But the playing field that we have is the one that we have. And I think this will allow UAM, SAU, lots of universities, not just the U of A, Arkansas State, it'll allow them to utilize this. Yeah. It's a very narrow deal. I want just clarification. There is an argument to be made under an old a case, which I've written an opinion on, just to clarify, that the legislature can do some things with regard to the Constitution, but I just want to clarify what I said.
All right, I got about a minute left, and so I'm going to skip one other ballot issue, and I'm going to ask you, you're running for re-election.
Yep.
You kicked off. You ready to roll?
Dude, I never stop. So my view has always been, if you are working hard every day, you never gear up. And that's been my way of doing things. And so I don't really gear up. Now I have to start raising money at some point, which which I am doing.
You got $8 million in the bank like Tom Cotton?
No, I don't have $8 million. But we will be well funded. We will be well funded. And we had a lot of great supporters come out recently. But look, if you stay active around the state, doing this, answering questions. I spoke to some students at Fayetteville yesterday with former Governor Hutchinson's class. If you do all that, then you never have to transition and go, well, I'm ramping up. If you stay up, you never have to ramp up.
Gotcha.
And so that's what I try to do. And it wears a family out sometimes, but they
But
are
not a staff. All right.
they are full of grace and mercy, like the Lord. And,
All right.
thanks.
Attorney General Tim Griffin, always good to visit.
Thank you
for being here.
Appreciate you.
All right.